28 female, boyfriend, 28 male, of 8 years cheated on me with his best friend's fiance and is now begging me for a second chance. I still love him, but I don't know what to do. Background: I met my boyfriend in college when we had a class together. He was struggling cause of his party lifestyle, but me, being a studious introvert, was thriving. He begged me to help him, and I relented eventually. I hated his guts, but, for some reason, he made me fall in love with him. He was such an open book too, and waited patiently for me. I didn't let him kiss me till 4 months into dating, and didn't sleep with him till our first anniversary. He was my first, and I wanted to be sure I was giving my virginity to someone who truly loved me. I didn't ask him to, but he slowly gave up partying and drinking for me, and we both found a new friend group in college, whom we've maintained to this day. He gave up everything willingly, cause he said he'd rather spend time at home with me. The one thing from his past that he didn't give up though was his childhood best friend, whom we'll call Max. Max always hated me. I think he blames me that he sees my boyfriend only a few times a month, and that he isn't fun anymore. He also openly questions the relationship in front of both of us, and says stuff like you'll come to your senses eventually when talking to my boyfriend. I told him I wasn't comfortable, so since then, he never let Max around me, but they still hung out, and I really didn't mind cause I trusted him. Okay, so this is what happened recently. Max got engaged to his long-term on-off girlfriend, and invited both of us over to celebrate. It would have been just the 4 of us. Restrictions have been lifted in our area, as long as contact and amount of people involved were kept to a minimum. I declined, which, in retrospect, was a big mistake. Boyfriend offered to stay with me, but I told him he didn't need to, and I'd understand if he wanted to support Max, even though I despise the guy. Again, this was a mistake in retrospect. The next morning boyfriend came home crying. We are living together. He was still clearly hungover, so I bathed him and put him to bed. When he woke up a few hours later, he told me everything. Apparently, he got really drunk at the party. Max's fiance, whom I guess I'll call homewrecker or HM, was very flirty with him the whole night and helped him when he passed out. The next thing boyfriend says he remembers was when he woke up, HM was giving him a BJ while he was naked. He says he was too drunk and just went along with it while Max watched. According to my boyfriend, they're into the whole hot wife thing, whatever that means. Next thing the boyfriend says he remembers was waking up naked next to HM with a bunch of used condoms around them. He rushed home after that. My heart is breaking right now, guys, and I don't know what to do. He's been begging me for a second chance, even showing me he blocked Max and HM on everything. He promised never to contact them again. He also swears to not drink when I'm not around anymore, and that he'd keep his phone unlocked and I can look through it whenever I wanted, no questions asked. He kept telling me how much he regrets it and how much he loves me and that I'm the only one. The sad thing is, I believe him. This man was my first everything, and I feel like my world is just crumbling around me. A few weeks ago, we were thinking about getting married and how many kids we wanted. Now, I can't even look at him without my heart breaking in two. This all happened a few days ago, and I've barely left the room. He's giving me space, but he's also doing the little things that make me fall for him again. He keeps the house clean. He's been cooking me the food I like, and leaving short love notes beside it on the dinner table. I'm lost right now. I want to forgive him, but every time I look at him, I can't shake off the image of him being with another woman. I know I was never his first, but he kept promising me I was going to be his last, and he broke it. Despite everything though, deep down I still love him. Usually, when problems this big come up in my life, he's the one I turn to for help. I love him, but I don't know if I can trust him anymore. What should I do? Will the couples counseling help? Should I just cut my losses and end it? He seems very remorseful, and he did confess to the whole thing immediately after. Should I give him a chance? Update: my 28 female boyfriend, 28 male, of 8 years cheated on me with his best friend's fiance and is now begging me for a second chance. I still love him, but I don't know what to do. So where do I begin? I think some of you would be delighted to know that he left me for not being supportive. Sucks to be me, I guess. I guess you guys were right. I'm a sucky girlfriend. He's now off to be with his brand new supportive girlfriend. Nah, just kidding, but some of you would wanted that to happen, right? So here's what really happened. After reading some of your comments, I started to see things from a different perspective. I never really thought of it as anything other than cheating, and it didn't help that when he came home to me that morning he claimed to have cheated on me, and I guess my mind just started going to a dark place where logic goes out of the window. It's not an excuse, but I wasn't in the right mindset after he said he cheated. I guess it was after the realization that this man would never willingly hurt me is when all the anger and pain of being cheated on was washed away. I couldn't really bring myself to talk to him at first. He was on the couch blankly staring at whatever was on TV. He looked empty. I sat beside him and told him I had no intention of breaking up. Well, he came to life almost instantly, and before I knew it, his arms were wrapped around me. He was shaking, and I could tell he was crying. I was too. Remember when I said I felt my world was crumbling around me? Well, for the first time in what seemed like forever, I could feel it starting to fall back into place. I didn't realize how much a simple embrace can be so calming. Everything was starting to feel right again. Then we talked. He apologized again for cheating, and when I told him I didn't think he cheated, he had a puzzled look on his face. I asked him if he gave consent, and he said no. I tried to explain I guess he still doesn't realize that he was actually taken advantage of. He said the first thing that came to mind after what happened was that he cheated and was so afraid of losing me. This man, after being raped, first thought of how much he betrayed me instead of how he was betrayed himself. I was floored. He said his first response had to be to win me back, which is why he's been going the extra mile the last few days taking care of me from a distance. When it was my turn to speak, I told him how sorry I was for not being supportive. I jumped to conclusions without actually thinking about it clearly, which was pretty out of character for me. A few more exchanges after that, and the conversation shifted to Max and HM. I told him that I never wanted him anywhere near Max or her again, and he agreed. I've always thought he was a bad influence, but I never thought he'd take it this far, so I never stopped him from seeing his ex-best friend. He showed me his phone, which didn't have a lock anymore. He said he blocked both of them on everything but wanted to keep the open phone policy. He said it's so I can be sure he isn't back in touch with Max. I urged him to file a police report, but he was against it. He said that even if he was raped, he couldn't bring himself to do it. I didn't really know about it at first, but his family and Max's family had a very long history of friendship. Their moms were college best friends and their dads worked together. Not only were the two of them close, but even their families were also close. I thought they were just neighbors, but it was more than that. I didn't know, cause every time I visit his family, the topic was never brought up, and I haven't really met any of Max's family except for his little sister, who came by to play with my boyfriend's little brother. He said he didn't want to ruin decades of friendship and would be content with just going non-cognizable with Max. He's getting tested later today, and I hope that witch didn't give my man anything. I'm also pretty confident my boyfriend didn't get HM pregnant cause Max hates children, so I'd imagine HM would be on birth control given how many dudes she sleeps with. Boyfriend and I concluded that Max most likely set the whole thing up to break us apart from so he can have his best friend back. They used to be partners in crime after all, when it came to parties and picking up women. I would like to point out that I did not force him to change. He chose to do so, but I know he did it for me, which just makes me fall in love with him even more. When we first met he was still the playboy party animal he was, but he told me, after hanging out with me for a few weeks, that he didn't feel like sleeping around anymore. I didn't believe him at first, obviously. My boyfriend has a high body count, but I don't really hold it against him, but back then, I just wanted to be sure I wasn't just a girl he bangs, or a conquest, but someone who he actually loves and sees a future with. Considering his past, I was very skeptical for a while, and I had my walls up the entire time, but he slowly tore them apart, and I'm glad he did. That reluctant yes when he first asked me out was, and still is, one of the best decisions I've ever made. Max's plan had the opposite effect. It's rough now, but I can see this experience making our relationship even stronger. I love him more than ever, believe it or not, and I'm sure he feels the same way. The last few days have taught us both how crappy our lives would be without the other. I guess it made us value each other more. Not that either of us took the other for granted. And yes, we are both getting therapy, both individually and as a couple. To be honest, I'm still shaken over the whole thing. Even when we cuddle, I can still imagine HM having her way with him, and I can't help but cry about it. If I'm still shaken up by the whole thing, I can only imagine how much worse it is for him, but I'll be there for him every step of the way. I know he didn't cheat. I know he won't break my heart. I know that he loves me. I know that I love him. It's hard right now, but knowing those facts makes me confident we can see this through. One Redditor pointed out that we were soulmates, and I like to think that we are. I can't see myself being with anyone but him. My mother, 43 female, wants me, 18 female, to donate eggs so she can have kids with her fiancé. There's a lot to this, and good God it's a mess. I go off to college in August. I turned 18 at the end of May. When I was about 14, my mother asked me if I would be willing to help her have a baby one day. I said yes without understanding what it all entailed. She is still holding me to this, even though I have since changed my mind. My mom has been threatening to kick me out over my refusal. She is pressuring me to sign a contract that would bind me to one cycle sometime before I turn 30, and she has even discussed me carrying a baby for her once I'm done with school. I feel very nervous about this, and I'm trying to stall/hold out until I'm no longer under her roof. I can't afford to move out until August. I'm not sure if I could eventually get out of this contract if I were to sign it, but I don't want to risk it. Her fiancé is totally cool with this. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to make plans to maybe stay with a friend, but I'm hoping to find a way out of this with my personal items. I know my mom will hold things hostage, so to speak. Small update, I'll let my sister know some of the things that are going on, and we have started collecting evidence. There's a lot of small things that CPS might care to know about, like mood swings and extreme punishments. My girlfriend, 21 female, of 18 months asked my, 22 male, preference about her pubic hair and now finds me revolting. So yesterday my girlfriend casually asked me how I prefer pubic hair to be groomed. She usually keeps hers short, but neat. I assumed she was just looking to change things up and wanted my opinion. So I answered honestly and said that I find completely shaven attractive, but in the grand scheme of things I couldn't care less. It's not a turn off if there's a hair, and that I like the way she has it now. Well, it turns out she had a lecture today at college. She studies psychology, and the topic was on pedophiles. Apparently one of the talking points was that pedophiles are attracted to the lack of body hair. When she told me this, I asked her, "Are you seriously calling me a pedophile because I find completely shaven attractive? Can I just point out that you're 21 and not 12? She basically skirted around my questions and then stormed out of my apartment when I kept pressing her on it. As she left, she called me revolting and is now ignoring my calls and text messages. What the F? Honestly not even sure where to go from here. We've never had any issues and was planning on proposing in the next year. Where has this even come from?" Update, my girlfriend, 21 female, of 18 months asked my, 22 male, preference about her pubic hair and now finds me revolting. She ignored my messages/calls for 3 days, at which point she texted me asking if I was free for her to come over for a movie night. I told her sure, but we need to talk about what happened before anything else. She replied with "about what?" I figured it was best to wait until I actually saw her in person before trying to discuss the issue, which I did. When she arrived, we sat down and I started by saying that I was upset by our last conversation and I'd like to discuss what happened, at which point she said it doesn't need to be discussed, can we leave it? I said, not really, no. I'd like to get to the bottom of what actually happened and also discuss your reaction of storming out and not talking to me for 3 days and then acting as nothing has happened. She basically refused to discuss it, so I told her that if we can't at least discuss what happened then I want to break up, and that she needed to get her stuff that she has in my apartment and leave. She lost her crap, bawling and screaming so much that my neighbor came and knocked on the door to check if everything was okay. He's a chill dude, so asked if he could stay whilst she got her stuff together, as she seemed to calm down once he was present. She basically sulked around slamming cupboards whilst she got her stuff and then left. So yeah, no real answers, and I'm still confused as hell as to what happened. I texted her mom to keep an eye on her as I'm kinda thinking she's losing it. I've never seen her like this and it worries me. She's been blowing up my phone about how she loves me and can't imagine life without me, but honestly, this whole thing has soured me, and I'm struggling to see any way that we will continue this relationship. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, hit like, get subscribed, and give the OP any advice you have in the comment section, and support the original writers with upvotes, links in the description box.